Welcome to the Final Score Network and the Final Score Podcast, presented by Team Anders Realtors. I'm Andy. He's former NCAA student athlete and co-host.
Ryan, Cam, two-hand monster flush off the inbound. Ryan, Cam, slam, jam.
Subscribe to us on Podbean, the Apple Podcast Store, Spotify, or anywhere you get your podcasts. Follow us on Twitter at TheFinalScore35 and TikTok at AGSpartanFan35. Oh, and one more note before we get started.
I'd like to apologize to anyone I've not offended yet. Please be patient. I'll get to you shortly.
Welcome into Pod 127. Sorry we missed it last week. We were busy. Just didn't have time. We were both traveling, and then Wednesday came, and we didn't have time to do it. I'm sorry.
26th anniversary. Yeah, we got a puppy. Rachel got a puppy.
So we had to skip last week.
Do our real jobs.
Yeah, that was only like the fourth time we've ever missed it, so I think it's okay. Yeah, a lot happened since we were away. NBA's over, NHL is over, the U.S. Open happened. Yeah, just crazy stuff. All right, podium, always I'll start. Speaking of NBA, this is going to be my podium last week if we did this, and I'm going to keep it. NBA needs to reevaluate. What I mean by this is they need to reevaluate the way the game is played, because it's turned into a trashy product that it's glorified pickup basketball. The officials officiate weird. The players play weird styles. Coaches don't do anything. There's no toughness. It's not real basketball, which leads to TV numbers, which leads to revenue, all this stuff. There's no, I haven't looked at it, but there's no way that the NBA had normal viewership this season. I know they were down in the regular season, and the playoffs was probably worse because no one really cares. It's not like it used to be where there's these dynasty teams. You know, the Warriors, yeah, they were in the playoffs. They lost early. You know, the Cavs when LeBron was carrying them, the Heat when LeBron was carrying them, Kobe with the Lakers, the Celtics when they were playing really well in the mid-2000s, the Pistons in the 90s and the early 2000s. All these teams, they had these dynasties that were really good for a few years and just played a fun brand of basketball. That stuff's going away, and you look at, you know, guys retiring, these trades that happening, you know, the amount of money. It's just ridiculous. The NBA needs to reevaluate, or else no one's going to watch it, and they will never go under. But they're going to be close, and they're going to have to reevaluate because not looking good for you guys.
And they need a 1979 like NCAA final event to re-energize the game. The NBA was still kind of fighting the dregs of the ABA and was dying, and then Magic and Bird came around, and the 80s were glorious for the NBA. 80s and the early 90s. I mean, you could argue the Bulls in the 90s too, but that's when basketball started to change. That's when I think it got soft, because people were tired of the Pistons and the Celtics, you know, taking out the showier teams, including Magic and the Lakers, and then the Bulls. And that's where you shifted basketball to what it is now. It's an ISO game, and it's garbage. There's a reason why I don't watch it. It's just not what it was in the 80s at all.
Not fun.
Before my podium, a happy belated Father's Day to our dads that listen. I think we're mostly a younger listening crowd, and my mother-in-law. So not happy Father's Day to you, Mom, but happy Father's Day to any dads that might listen, or to the listeners' dads out there. My podium, we got a lot of stuff to cover in the third shot for golf for sure, but I wanted to talk about LA Country Club as a venue. I think it got a raw deal from a lot of people, really based off of Thursday. Why can't we just accept that Ricky Fowler and Xander Schauffele, two of the, you know, Ricky's making a great comeback, but Xander Schauffele is number 6 in the world. Two of the best golfers in the world just had an epically outstanding day on a course that was gettable because of something you can't control, the weather, right? It was June gloom in LA. If you don't know what that is, it's the marine layer. It's very moist in the air. The air is heavier. And it means this golf course is softer. It means the greens aren't crisped out. It means bounces aren't going to be as crazy. And it is what it is. I mean, no knock on you, Dauber, but even you're like, oh, it's too easy. I don't know. What is it with the sadistic love affair with guys got to shoot like 5 and 6 over? I mean, I don't need to see a bloodbath. Do I want it to be tough? Yeah. And here's a news flash. Those two guys went 8 under on Thursday. They both finished 5 under and 4 under respectively.
3 under Xander.
Oh, 3 under Xander. So the thing is that course played plenty hard. And what happened? It got sunny. The wind picked up. It got dried out. I thought the course layout was spectacular. It's a course I would love to play. It's like I don't even know, ungodly amount of initiation fee. Severe rules. We're going to talk about some of that in the golf thing. But, like, why can't we just accept that these guys are good? You know, I love that there's the Barranca. You know, you saw kind of some crazy bounces, crazy spots, you know. Just like, it doesn't have to be, you know, guys just right around even par. Like, that didn't happen at Pebble Beach. Nobody complained when Tiger Woods tore it up and was 15 under. Yeah, I get it. The next nearest guy was like even or one under. But still, like, 10 under is okay to win a tournament. That's a good, hard golf course, and these players are great. I mean, look at Wyndham Clark. I think he led the field in driving distance, and McIlroy was hitting 370-yard drives too. Like, these guys can hit it so far, and they're so strong. So be happy that, you know, there were birdie holes that led to some spectacular fireworks, and there were some bogey holes that led to some blow-ups, and it all balanced out in the end. The last 3 days, collectively, the score didn't get any higher than 2. I mean, it got up to 12. That was the highest it got, and it settled in at 10. Like, just love the course for the test of golf that it did. It was a great tournament. I get so tired of being fixated. What's next? 8,000-yard course, par 68. I mean, as it is, it was the 3 longest holes in USGA, US Open history on 16, 17, and 18. After, on Saturday, the shortest par 3 in history. I mean, those last 3 holes were a combined mile. And by the way, Scotty Scheffler took 2 of them in 5 shots on Saturday. So, like, stop picking at the course. Stop picking at the USGA. The USGA is the only good bastion of normalcy we have in golf anymore because of the PGA Live nonsense with the Department of Justice and all that stuff. So I just say, bravo. I thought LACC was great. It was a different venue. And I'm telling you guys, they're probably going to tear up Pinehurst next year because the last time it was there, Martin Keimer tore up Pinehurst. So you can complain all you want, but, like, just stop and enjoy the show. That's what I got to say.
I agree. We'll get more to that a little later. Tee up. Could go in a lot of different directions. We're going to go with, former West Virginia coach now, Bob Huggins. You know, he had this incident with some homophobic slurs about a month and a half ago. He's on some Cincinnati radio show. You know, got in trouble for that. He was going to get suspended for a few games, whatever. Proceeds on Friday night to get arrested for drunk driving. Blows a .21. Almost tripled the legal limit. Had a garbage bag full of beers in his back seat. Proceeds to get fired on Saturday and / resign. What an idiot. He's always been kind of walked that thin line. He was kind of a cheater. Wasn't he at Cincinnati a little bit?
Yeah, he was borderline. I mean, he said his job was to create NBA players and basketball players, not students. So he's definitely not. He's not the guy he replaced, which was Beeline, right? Like, Beeline was who preceded him.
Patrick Beeline said if West Virginia called him to have him back, he would go back. His son said that.
Oh.
That would be crazy.
That would be crazy. Yeah, I mean, it's too bad. Like, look,
really good coach, historic coach.
The thing is this isn't a woke deal, right? Like, Huggies had some issues. He's had a couple recently. I think this was just West Virginia went into him and said, "Look, coach, we love you. You've done great, but our hands are tied. So you either resign or we're going to fire you." And at this point, it wouldn't be a good look. I would say if this is first offense, maybe even second offense, whatever, you can kind of wish it away and good PR move it away. But, like, this is beyond 2 offenses, and I don't know. Doesn't have a great track record of success with a lot of the other things off the court necessarily. So, it's probably time for him to go anyway. So, stupid move on your part, coach. Not the way you want to go out as a legacy. Maybe you can go coach D3 like Calhoun did or something and get back to the love of basketball, or like Pete Bell. Pete Bell on the fictitious Blue Chips. I wish Huggy well, but just not a smart move. Not a smart man, Jenny.
Yeah, that's not a great look for you, Bob, but I digress. People make mistakes, I get it, but that was strike 3 and you're out.
At least.
All right. The nitty gritty. We're going to do the par 3 as we have been all summer, and we probably will until probably late July.
Until we get
We'll
into football
start
previews.
diving into some Big Ten previews and talking some football. I hate to say it, but why does it feel like June is already freaking flown by? It's already almost June 20th, and good Lord, before we know it, it'll be football season. But we'll go hodgepodge / mailbag here on the first shot. Do you want to do mailbag first? What do you want to do?
It doesn't matter. I just have some things that I could throw out there so we can go back and forth.
We can do a hodgepodge first. Let's talk a little John Morant. Found out, I think it was Thursday, his suspension. 25 games for being a freaking gangbanger. If it was
gambling, they'd suspend him for the season.
If it was gambling, it'd be a season. But imagine if it was like a guy that's a role player or like a bench guy for the Pistons or something. They'd suspend him for the whole season for doing that.
They probably would. This is the NBA doing yourself a disservice. You think you're saving the game by promoting your thug stars, and you're making it worse.
Yeah, I don't get it. This guy's he's an idiot. He's not going to learn his lesson unless he shoots himself on accident in the leg like Plaxico did, or hurt somebody. And that it's just bad. It's a terrible look. Once again for the NBA. Second thing I had, there's this article on 247 Sports by Brad Crawford. It's called College Athletics 25 Powerhouses That Produce the Most Revenue for 2022. I wanted to just kind of talk about this. Ohio State was number 1. Guess how much money that they produced in 2022
revenue
alone? Yes.
Is this after expenses, or is this just?
It's just
like
as 2022
or is it profit, or
revenue.
$100 million.
$251 million.
Wow. Well, I guess jersey sales, all that kind of
Texas second, 239. Alabama third, 214. Michigan 4, 210. Georgia 5, 203. Then in there as well, Penn State was number 9 at $181 million. Michigan State number 12 at $172 million. Indiana $166 million at 13th.
Wow, thanks to basketball.
Tennessee surprisingly only 154. I feel like they would earn more than that from football with the season that they had. Iowa number 21, $151 million. Wisconsin $150 million at 22. Illinois $145.7 million. So a lot of the Big Ten in the top 25.
The reason why it's going to come down, as we talked about this time last year, to Big Ten SEC is the last two conferences standing.
Then San Diego State, they left the Mountain West. You see that late last week? Yeah, they're out. They don't have a conference.
So they're just going to wait on placement somewhere.
Big 12, Pac-12, I don't know. We'll see.
If the Pac-12 wants to survive, maybe they'll do that, but the Pac-12 is Pac-12 and the ACC are going to crumble. And that actually goes to one of my questions for you, Ryan. So, news of the other day I saw this. North Carolina and UVA, they see the ACC is crumbling. They are playing themselves out there to the SEC or the Big Ten. Who would they be a better fit for, and why?
Who was it again? Sorry.
North Carolina and Virginia.
I think North Carolina,
both as a pair.
They feel more SEC to me. I don't know why.
See, I think Big Ten because they fit in basketball, they'd fit in football. I think they're both the way they are academically. What's the Big Ten likes what are those schools? The AAU schools. Yeah. UVA is a prestigious academic school. North Carolina, minus their cheating scandal with basketball and doing classes for people. I personally, last year when I did my picks, those were two teams that I had going to the SEC for sure. Because remember, I got to like 2 48-team leagues, and like 8-team divisions or 12-team. Like I had a whole plan laid out. I had them there. I personally, so the question I would have for you, Ryan, is: would you rather? Because it's going to happen one way or another. Would you rather have Washington and Oregon be the next two into the Big Ten to get them to 18? Or would you rather have North Carolina and Virginia?
I'd probably rather have North Carolina and Virginia.
I think so. I mean, Oregon, obviously, you've got the Nike pull and everything. Washington, it would balance it out a little bit with UCLA and USC, give them a little bit of West Coast partners. I get that part of it. Neither would be bad. I mean, Michigan State went up to Washington last year. It's a great place to watch a football game. They're not particularly great in basketball. Oregon is obviously good in football, okay in basketball. They got Boku Bucks coming in from Phil Knight. I personally, if given a choice, I would rather see North Carolina and Virginia. I think neither really do much for the Big Ten TV wise. I mean, the Big Ten already has, but we've talked about this before, like 4 of the top 5 markets now.
Yeah.
Seattle and Portland aren't going to give them anywhere that's going to get close. Virginia you already kind of have with Maryland. Carolina, okay, you get Charlotte. That's probably a bigger market than Seattle, but I don't know. I probably would personally, if I got to choose, I'd say North Carolina and Virginia, but wouldn't surprise me either way.
Yeah, I agree. It'll be interesting to see what happens in the next few years.
So we talked about the West Virginia thing, obviously, and Huggy, and you mentioned Beeline. I saw that today too. I did not do my homework on this, so I'm going to throw you a flyer because you know more about this. But who else would be a coaching candidate for West Virginia?
I hear Jeff Bowles, Ohio's coach. He's pretty good. They've had a solid last few years.
I love MAC coaches are usually good to pick at.
I'm trying to think who else I saw thrown around in there. Chris Mack, from former Xavier and Louisville coach. I saw his name. I would not be surprised if he was in the mix because it's kind of late in the process.
Yeah, definitely.
I don't know who else. I saw Pat Kelsey, the coach of Charleston's name thrown around. He'd be he's a good coach. I don't really know though. It's weird. ESPN did an article on it.
That's all right. I just thought off the top of your head because you're up on that more. You have more.
They had, I think Youngstown State's coach was in there as well. Jared Calhoun's his name. They had a nice.
Yeah, you're off cycle for sure.
Maybe from within, but they said they're not going to go the interim route, so maybe not within. Beeline's names on this is Andy Kennedy, UIB, because he coached with Huggins at one point. Forbes from Wake Forest. That'd be interesting. He's a good coach.
I feel like that'd be a step down. I mean, ACC basketball to Big 12. Wake Forest is maybe it'd be easier to recruit to West Virginia. I don't know.
What's that roster going to look like? How is because I heard a bunch of those guys, a lot of them are transfers anyways, and they can't transfer twice unless they're grads.
Right.
So they're kind of stuck.
Yeah. So that'll be an interesting thing to watch for. So my next question, because I just saw this news today, Draymond Green opting for free agency. What are some potential landing spots for Draymond Green?
I've heard Lakers. I've heard.
I don't want to
definitely
see him play
Warriors.
With LeBron.
I could see. I don't even know. I don't really pay.
I'll tell you what I would. I don't watch the
something.
NBA. I can't stand the NBA, but I do love my Michigan State guys. I think it's later in his career. He's like 33, so he's got some years left, but he's definitely he's kind of going on the backside of his career. I think if the Pistons ever want to get right, they need a guy like Draymond Green who can get the locker room kind of busted into shape, get the prima donnas on the right path. Personally, if you want to get my interest in watching some Pistons games again, go out and get him because he does all the things that basketball players should do, and that's what makes him great that very rare and very few other people do. So I don't really know where he would end up going. I ask you, Ryan, because again, you probably more in the know. I personally more wanted to ask the question because my hope would be that he'd go to the Pistons to give me any chance of watching George Blaha and Greg Kelser call Pistons games.
George has got a foot in the grave. I hate to say it. Yeah, it says lanes, so that's Golden State, LA, Miami. That's really it.
Yeah, I mean, I don't know what the Pistons, all that stuff looks like for them, but I just think if you're a young team
a lot of cap space.
And you want a savvy veteran that can help you learn how to win, he's a winner. He's a winner. He went to 2 Final Fours at Michigan State. He's won what, 4 or 5 championships with Golden State. He knows how to be a team guy. Yeah, does he come with some baggage, I guess, in the terms of like he's pretty outspoken and he's going to get after teammates and that kind of stuff? Yep, you bet. But you know what? That's what I think is right. This is the only thing. He's like one of the very few players that's right with the NBA because that's what made the 80s so great in the NBA is it was full of Draymonds. It was full of guys who were stat sheet stuffers in ways other than I got to get mine. You're not talking about a guy that takes a night off because, oh, my knee's hurt and I don't feel like playing tonight, like a LeBron or the other superstars. He's a throwback player, and the NBA needs more of him. And if he went to the Pistons, I could commit to watching
I'd watch him.
a game, let alone I haven't watched a Pistons game front and back
We
in years.
We live in Good Valley, so it's okay.
Well, that doesn't matter. I wouldn't even go to a sports bar to watch them because they suck so bad.
Yeah, they're pretty bad. Not too fun to watch.
All right, other question that I have, and then you probably have some more stuff too, is
I got nothing
what
else.
does Mel Tucker have to do this season to make you stay positive about him and the future of Michigan State football?
He has to make a bowl game. He has to do it.
I agree, because last year we were there. Epic, like
Meltdown.
fart in your face fail with that missed kick. Like, don't ever rely on a kicker. Unless it's Jason Hansen, ever rely on a kicker. And he did that, and he got burned by it. And, I mean, it doesn't take much. It takes a 500 record to go to a bowl game. And Michigan State screwed the pooch on that last year, and, they fought valiantly at Penn State. But roster's very remade over because you lost your prima donna top receiver, good riddance, left for more moolah and Showtime, whatever. You lost Peyton Thorne, who, by all accounts, what I read, wasn't really thinking about transferring until, like, a couple days before he put his name in the portal. Still don't really understand that, but whatever, it's fine. Future's now. I agree. I think 6-6 is a must.
Yeah, you have to do it.
But I think to really build some positivity, if you went 6-6, you have to win the bowl game. Otherwise, I think you got to turn a winning record. If you can go 7-5 and even, have a tough bowl loss to a good team or something like that, I think that's a little bit more acceptable. You've got to show progress, and you got to show progress with young guys. And I also think you got to land some of these guys that you're swinging hard at. It's one thing to swing hard at guys all the time and miss on the majority, right? It's sales. You're not. It's like, or baseball, right? You're not going to hit 1,000. I get it. But you got to hit one or two of these guys. You've got to hit one of these 5 stars. You've got to hit a good handful of legit 4 stars.
You have to do that.
It's like it's a must-have. And by all accounts, Ishbia is not going to be just handing out money anymore at Michigan State because he spent $4 billion on a NBA team, which probably wasn't a great investment, Matt. And then he already put $30 million into football and basketball. So, yeah, you still have Rocket Mortgage money. You still have, a lot of other cash coming in. But, you got to put your money where your mouth is now, Mel. Like, you set the standard. There's coaches that are certainly getting paid more than you. I get it. But you need to catch fire in a bottle, and you need to do it consistently.
Yeah, you need something.
It starts with getting to a bowl.
It has to be a good product, too.
I don't care if you take the slow approach. Like, D'Antonio was a slow build. He was competitive. He had, teams that were close, and then he got to 7-5, and then he got to 8-4, and then 9-3, and then wham! I'm okay with that. I'm okay with a steady, consistent climb with good recruits coming in, and more so than good recruits coming in is maintaining them and developing them. I get it. Some of that's out of your hands because the NCAA, that's all a bunch of horse shit. The way that with the NIL and guys can just willy nilly leave and all that kind of stuff, but you got to deal with that. You got to develop guys. That means your coaching staff has to be good. I need to see market improvement. I need to see better sideline coaching. I need to see better decisions. I think that Indiana game was an epic fail. I think the fact that you settled and you didn't even get on the right hash for your kicker. You didn't ask him what he was comfortable with, let alone putting it in some walk-on guy that hardly made a kick last year's leg, even from extra point land. No, you try to score the touchdown. He almost screwed the pooch at Illinois that same way. When Illinois was undefeated and we pulled off a big upset. So I think there's got to be a good unexpected win in there this year, and you got to win all the games you should, and you got to get to a bowl game. I agree.
Yeah, you have to, or else the clock's ticking, pal.
Yep. All right. You got anything else in that?
No, I got nothing.
All right. Keep your questions and such coming. We'll keep an eye on news and bring stuff into Hodgepodge, but if you got any questions, we're happy to address them. I've got one from you, Chris, but we're going to handle that in the golf section. All right, second shot. We're going to get into a bracket again this week. You remember, this is always bracket, or it's sometimes Mount Rushmore, or if we're feeling salty, a Canadian Mount Rushmore. We're going to go rivalry game bracket. This would be, and this is an 8-team bracket, not 16. Which of these would you most want to see / is the best, most attractive matchup? That's what the premise of this bracket is. All right. And it's mostly a mix of college basketball and college football, with one non of those two in play. So number 1 seed, North Carolina Duke at Cameron versus Indiana Purdue at Assembly.
Probably Duke. I think.
I mean,
yeah.
I think so, just because Cameron just has its thing. I just would like to go there once. I mean, I want to go to Assembly Hall too, but I just as soon go see Michigan State play at Assembly Hall. Captain agrees upstairs, probably chasing Moose, the new puppy, around. They're going to face off against the winner of, now we're switching to football, Army-Navy, underseeded probably at a 4, versus Texas A&M, which has not been played in quite a while.
Oh, I know. I would love to see Army-Navy.
Army-Navy all day, every day, especially with a couple of family members that went to West Point and were cadets. Army-Navy all day.
Yeah.
All right, moving on to the bottom part of the bracket. Number 3 seed, Kentucky-Louisville at Rupp versus 6 seed, 80s Pistons Celtics. So we're going to go into the Wayback Machine way before you were born. You have the opportunity to go watch like a Game 6 of Pistons Celtics in the heyday in the mid-late 80s.
I would love to do that. I like that.
Yeah, I would say the same. I watched those games, and those were live and die with. That's when basketball was basketball in the NBA. It still is at least a bastion of that in the college game. But and you don't believe me? I'm telling you, go find it. I'm sure there's a game on YouTube. Go watch any game in a Pistons Celtics series from like 86 to 88 or 89, whenever the Pistons first won it. I mean, you're talking about epic games, and usually 7-game series. All right, so they'll face the winner of 2 seed Ohio State, Michigan, which I've been to, and you can go to either, we'll say the Shoe or the Big Dump, against a sneaky 7 seed rivalry game, Pitt, West Virginia, the backyard brawl.
I would want to go to the backyard brawl. That's sick.
There's a license plate in the parking lot, West Virginia plate, EIEIO, your lights are on. That's the famous PA announcer joke there. I'm going to agree. I've also been to Ohio State, Michigan. I was an Earl Bruce game at U of M Stadium with Tom, and I believe actually Ohio State won. So when he was a student there, so it was kind of fun. I'm gonna go though with Pitt, West Virginia too, because I just think that would be that's epic old school. So we have exactly the same 4. And who are you taking? North Carolina Duke at Cameron or Army Navy?
Army Navy.
Yeah, I'm with you all the way. And then you got Pistons Celtics 80s matchup against West Virginia Pitt.
Pistons Celtics.
And same with me, and Army Navy or Pistons
Army
Celtics.
Navy.
Yep.
Army Navy.
Yep.
We're boring, but
all day. Great book to read. A Civil War by John Feinstein follows Army and Navy through a season. Just you want to feel American, which unfortunately only about half of Americans do anymore. Read that book, and then you'll beat up some people who are not American. We'll just say it like that. All right. Quick word from our presenting sponsor. Team Anders Realty will help you find the home that best fits your needs and to make the process simple and fun along the way. The Anders have served thousands of clients over 30 plus years in the Grand Rapids, Michigan area and are here to serve you today. Learn more at teamanders.com.
All right.
All right, third shot, par putt, or if you're like me, 60-foot winding down probably a 12, 13-foot slope eagle, a number 15 at Boulder Creek yesterday, and in my 8th win of the season.
Yeah, I don't think.
Didn't flip a golf cart this time.
Yeah, that's always
which is
positive
something.
news.
Which is something.
Well, since we left you, we did have a crazy ending to the Canadian Open. Nick Taylor, 72-footer in a third playoff hole over Tommy Fleetwood, looking for his first win. And then celebration ensues. Adam Hadwin, Canadian player, friends with Nick Taylor, gets just decked by a security guard, form tackle. That was pretty funny.
Heard about it, didn't see the video.
Looked like an average Joe. Funny. Brings us to the U.S. Open.
Did we pick guys for that one?
Yeah, we did. Let me pull it up. I don't think we did very well, if I'm not mistaken.
Well, he's pulling that up. I'm going to say this about the U.S. Open.
I had picked in that Canadians, Svensson and Rose. Rose did okay, and then you picked Burns and Thagala, and they both Burns and Svensson missed the cut, and then Rose and Thagala did okay.
All right, U.S. Open. How do we do first of all in our foursomes?
My guys got 78th combined.
We put this on
guys,
Twitter.
Your guys 57th.
Yeah, who did we have?
I had Spieth, who I thought was going to win, missed the cut. Fowler obviously played well. Scheffler, Cam Smith, that's pretty good. My bugaboo was Spieth, and then you had Scheffler, Koepka, Finau, and Fowler. So U.S. Open, yeah. Look at that leaderboard. I mean, the 62. Excuse me, the 62s happen. You're like, this course is going to get murdered. No, that's not the case because only 2 shots less than that won the tournament.
I think the only gripe, and look, some of the players didn't like the course, right? Players are going to not like, and not everybody's going to like every course. I don't listen to that stuff. I just, whatever. Opinions are like assholes. Everybody's got one. The only gripe that I heard that I thought was cool, and it probably was space limited. I don't know if there was some other limitations on it, but only about 22,000 people could get in to watch, spectators, a day. And I did think it was cool the way they let them kind of run in, like they've done at the PGA when Phil won at Kiowa, like they've done cool. in the Tour Championship. Like they let that happen, so the atmosphere on 18 was great at the end, but. Like, I agree. Fitzpatrick, I think, said that. It just didn't feel as energetic as it can.
Yeah, they weren't, because it was all corporate or members.
And the thing is L.A. in general is just not a great sports town. I mean, I get why, like, the Big Ten chased USC and UCLA for TV, but nobody goes to those games. The Rose Bowl's only filled for the Rose Bowl. It's never filled for a UCLA game. I mean, people fill Westwood, the Forum for the Lakers when the Lakers, especially during Showtime or whatever, but it's mostly still celebrities. Like, people don't really go to Dodgers games that much. I mean, maybe in the World Series or Anaheim Angels games. Like, it's just not people, it takes forever to get places, and it's just like, they're weird people in LA. All right. Yeah. And that's a high end prestigious course. I've got some stuff on that course that I'll kind of throw out there that I thought was interesting. But I think that's probably my biggest gripe is that just not enough spectators allowed, and it took away from some of that. Like, and I'm not talking about the mashed potatoes and the heckling and all that kind of stuff. Like Phil dealt with the heckler and Ricky dealt with the heck. I just like the energetic, like, game changers, like the roar that you hear from like 4 holes away, and you're like, oh man, what just happened? And it gets guys thinking. It's it's a thinking man's game, and that's probably my biggest beef, if I have a beef. Yeah. I will say this. I was rooting like crazy for Ricky. I like Ricky Fowler. I've always liked Ricky Fowler. I think he's just a good dude. He's a dad. He's a husband. He's a good dude. Man. Did he? Maybe some people would argue, he sold out a few years ago for all the endorsements. He makes a lot of money to be, what turned into, he was a struggling golfer. But, he got the ship righted. And I'm telling you, sportsmanship and chivalry is not dead, because that dude is always there. Last year, he didn't make the cut. He did not make the cut. He didn't even get in. He was the first alternate, didn't get in. And he's always there to congratulate these young players. And if you watched yesterday, he waited while, Wyndham Clark celebrated his win, was emotional. His family rushed out to him. People cheered. And then he stepped in when the time was right to have a hug. And then what I saw today, and what I was sure, because he pulled him in for a tighter hug a second ago, what I read was so cool. The gesture that he did, waiting and then congratulating them, and then that second pull in close, and he told him, your mom was with you. She'd be very proud. If you don't know Clark's story, it's very chronicled on NBC that, he lost his mom at age 19 to breast cancer. He gave a lot of credit to her when he won the Wells Fargo. Obviously he's like 29, 30 now, so that was a little while ago, but he was close with his mom. She was his biggest fan. That weighed heavily on him. He almost quit golf because of it. He was a Big 12 player of the year at Oklahoma State as a freshman, and ended up having to transfer, contemplated quitting golf. I saw today he actually was almost on The Bachelor.
He seems like he'd be a bachelor
He seemed like he'd be a bachelor guy. His girlfriend's cute though. But so for him to have that emotion, and for Ricky to be in that moment and say that to him, your mom would be proud of you. Yeah, is there a classier guy in golf? I mean, no. I think some people argue, that makes him soft. that makes him whatever. He's not a winner. You got to be hard to be a winner. I get it. That's what you saw in Tiger. But here's the thing. The world needs more Ricky Fowlers. He sees the whole picture, and not many do. It's hard to win a golf tournament. It's hard to lead a golf tournament for 4 days and hang on and win. It's hard to shoot a 62 as Xander Schauffele and stay right there and be in the mix and to deal with all the distractions and all the stuff that goes on. And he does it with grace and class and likability, and the fans like him, and he's got a great persona and a great personality. I was rooting for him. I think that the best is ahead of Ricky, which is great because it shows that you can kind of have a resurgence in your career. Obviously, golf's a game. If you stay healthy, you can play for a long time. He's still only in his mid-30s, early mid-30s. I'm rooting for you, Rick. I don't know when it's going to be, but you're having a great season anyway.
Maybe he'll get one overseas. Who knows?
Yeah, I mean, I was really proud of that. And then shifting to Clark as a champion, I know, a lot of people were probably rooting for Ricky.
He came out of nowhere,
people
really.
Were rooting for Rory, certainly, because Rory's a great story. I personally thought he's a great story. Clark, great champion. I mean, he was stoic. He made mistakes. He bogeyed 15, 16. He had a 4-stroke lead, yeah. But he made shots. I mean, this going flag hunting on 18 on Saturday, basically in the dark, as they said, because he and Ricky were pissed that Ricky had to bogey that. That bogey probably was a momentum killer for Rick on Saturday.
Shifted it.
I just thought, like, the way that he handled the win, the way that he handled the golf, he was just steady. He was there. Pretty unflappable, and I think he's a good champion. He kind of reminds me of Webb Simpson, who sprungboard from his U.S. Open win. He hasn't won another major, but he's won the Players, and he's done some other good things.
Hits the crap out of the ball.
Just smashes the ball.
His short game was really good too. It's gotten some precarious situations and scrambled.
You'd love to see Rory win it because Rory is well. I mean, he's the most consistent major player. Aside from Tiger in the last 25 years. I mean, he's the only one close to Tiger in terms of top 10 finishes.
He played well, too. I mean, 70...
Played well, and he's a man. He admitted afterwards, I was rooting for him to 3-putt that, not because I wanted him to lose, but because I wanted to win. And you know what? He said what everybody would be thinking, and that's what you would do. Like, if you're playing in a match, I don't care if you're playing with your best friend, of course you're hoping that they secretly choke because you want to win, right? Like, not that they lose, but that you want to win. And he did, by all accounts, pretty much everything he could do. But it was like Sunday of the Open; he couldn't put those putts together. Like
too long.
At one point on Sunday, like his collective made putts, I think for the last 2 days had been like only 48 feet or something like that. He was getting stuff to great lag range, but he wasn't making any bombs. And you got to be able to save things. Like he got I can't remember what hole it was. He got the lucky ruling.
Yeah,
not lucky, but where he got the embedded, and then ends up missing the par putt. Like he had his chances, but you got anything else on any? I've got some other things.
Scheffler once again, he's a T10 machine or top 10 machine.
Yeah, he's right up there.
He didn't even play that well when he finished third. Mm-hmm. I mean, he can't putt, and he just finished third in the major. And Cam Smith, folk, he's not going anywhere. I'm going to pick
Scotty's approach game. He's won in like tee to green, like won in so many key stats, but he's not very good in putting right now where he had been. But you take Cam's putting and you morph that with
Cam
Scotty.
Smith is
holy hell, they would be unbeatable. They'd be unbeatable because that's Scotty's thing. He's got a little bit of the yips. Right?
He's a really good. He's good around the green, but not on the green.
Yep.
Fleetwood 63 on Sunday, not enough again.
Kim,
nice showing. Harris English, nice showing. Rahm got a top 10. My biggest thing, with this major thing is, are these guys ever like this? Tom Fleetwood, he's a bunch of top 10s. He's never won anything. Xander Schauffele is a thoroughbred player on the tour, yet he has not won anything meaningful.
Hard to win, right?
Patrick Cantlay, these guys just it's so hard to win. It just makes you realize that. But LA Country Club was awesome. I loved the mix of long holes, short holes, 85 yards.
81 the one day.
It's playing so short, then 299 on a par 3, and then the short par 4, number 6. The fun mix.
A lot of risk
holes.
reward, long holes like 550. We were joking yesterday when we played here at Boulder Creek. None of the par 5s here from the Blues were as long as as a couple of those par fours there.
Right. That's
nuts.
Just wild.
I like some of the rules from LA Country Club. No changing shoes in the parking lot. No phone calls from anywhere on property except inside a parked car or an enclosed booth in the locker room. No snapping photos of the course. No posting videos or still shots of the property on social media. No headphones or earbuds allowed. No cash unless you're paying caddies. No tipping. Long pants required regardless of weather, and those pants must be tailored, so no joggers. No clogs, no flip-flops, no warm-up suits, no leggings, no gym attire, no t-shirts and jerseys, no clothing containing slogans. Keep your shirts tucked in. Caps and visors okay, but only with the bill facing forward. Never to be worn inside the clubhouse or in adjacent patios, the exception being the uncovered patio next to the bar. Golf attire is acceptable in the locker room and grill room, but after 6, men must wear a jacket in all other areas of the clubhouse. Same with boys age 7 and up. Girls and women, shirts, blouses, inside slacks or skirts, unless the shirts are designed to be worn outside. Slacks must be tailored of ankle length or longer. Skirts must break no higher than 4 inches above the knee, so no sluts. No, here's a good fun one. No actors. They will not allow actors in, even though like Lionel Richie lives on the course. The old Playboy Mansion. I think I love it. Like that's old school, and people say, "Oh, it's stuffy. That's not what golf is." Blah blah blah. So what? So go play at your local muni if that you don't want to. I think it's like we don't have many traditions alive anymore. Traditions being like good guys like Ricky Fowler, and traditions being like rules of common decency. And I don't know. Blythefield tried it when we were members there, and I actually appreciated it. So that's a little bit more on that. I got a couple questions for you off the U.S. Open. Given we talked about Rory, will he win another major? He's only 34, 35, 36 years old.
That was one of my sprint questions, actually.
All right, well, we'll skip that then. Will Spieth or JT ever win another major? Spieth missed a cut. JT shot an 81.
JT's lost. He's lost.
I think they'll win another major. They're both in their late 20s.
I would say Spieth would over Thomas.
They're both young. They're, hey, sometimes you got to get refocused. Both more recently married with kids. Well, JT doesn't have kids, but you get your priorities right. You work on the right things. I think both will be fine because they're both supreme talents. How many more majors will Scotty win?
I think he'll get to 5.
You think he's got 1, right, so far?
4 more.
If he can stay healthy and stay on the track, I just worry about his swing because the way his feet move. He's nanoseconds from a rolled ankle and a shredded Achilles, the way his feet move.
I don't understand.
I could see him winning a couple more. I see him winning I could see him contending for sure for the British, but I see him as a U.S. Open guy and maybe another Masters, so I could see him at least get to 3. How about Rahm?
I think he's going to get the Grand Slam. I do.
Yeah, Rahm definitely strikes me as a British Open guy. PGA maybe the least in his bag, but I could see him getting the Grand Slam. Maybe before Fowler, but we'll talk about that. Another question. So Azinger took a lot of heat. You're not a big particular fan of him. I've met him. He's a decent guy. I personally... Look, Johnny Miller was pretty polarizing, but here's the thing. He won the damn thing. Until the other day, he had the record for lowest round, and his was like in the 4th round, I think.
Right.
In the U.S. Open. He was brash, and he told it like it is, and he rubbed people the wrong way. But I think you need some of that. Like I don't need.
That's kind of how Sir Nick was.
Like I feel like Azinger is a master of the obvious, and
yeah,
he doesn't.
He
makes stupid calls, like he said, "Oh, this ball's not going to move." When Clark had that beautiful shot away, he got kind of like in the crappy stuff. He whiffed one. Remember?
Well, yeah. Well, speaking of that, you know what he did, don't you? Mm-hmm. He was hitting down air. He should have been penalized because he was knocking down stuff behind him to hit it.
Oh, I didn't see that. But anyway, so Azinger like. Master of the unobvious there. He's like, oh, that ball's not moving. It was still clearly moving on the telecast and it got to like within 5 feet for a key par save. Like, I don't dislike him, but I don't think he's the best NBC has for a color commentator. Honestly, if you listen to it, their B guy, so their warm-up guy, their early round guy, Peter Jacobson. I think Jake the Snake, I think he's better. I think he's better. I've met him once before too. He's a good dude, but I just think you need kind of. I I think you need somebody who won the U.S. Open to call the U.S. Open. NBC does a decent amount of golf, but like that's their major.
Yeah, I don't
Well, they have the
think
Open too, I guess. But
they do.
I would rather see somebody that's done it. I mean, I don't know. What do you think about Zinger?
Yeah, I'm not a huge Zinger guy. I just think he sucks, to be honest with you.
Yeah.
And then more rule stuff. What was it? I heard it in the podcast earlier. Dang it, it'll come back to me.
So along those lines...
something to do with Wyndham Clark. It's not even a rules thing. This motherfucker wasn't even reading his own... Sorry, pardon my language. Wasn't even reading his own putts. His caddy read all of his putts.
Clark? No, they read them together.
He was on every putt that he hit.
He was.
Can he read his own putts, or is he 3 years
I
old?
don't know. He doesn't have to, right?
Well, that's kind of crap. He should have to
I don't
read
think
his
so.
own.
I mean, that's what you're paying your caddy for. So, he's going to get rewarded handsomely. He's going to make about 2 to 3 times a year.
His
what
caddy
I'm
played in the U.S. Open. He did.
Yeah, I mean, he's not the only caddy that does that.
No,
I mean, some guys are
he
better
did it
at
for
it.
like every putt.
But it's also more obvious because of the way they do it. But, it's all within that wasn't a rules thing. He was well within the rules. But back to the announcer thing. Who's better, Dan Hicks or Jim Nance?
Jim Nance. Way better.
Scott,
I think Nance is a really good golf commentator.
I think he is too, but I like Dan Hicks. I mean, he gets a little bit of whatever, but I think Nance is probably better, but I do like Dan.
I do like Dan Hicks. I like Terry Gannon too. I think he does a good job. You know who I think should be the NBC guy? He should be Noda. Noda's way better than
Noda's a really good on-course
Zinger.
commentator.
He's way better.
Yeah, I would agree with that. I could switch him. Have Zinger
Seriously,
walk the
Zinger
course.
probably would hurt himself.
Yeah, Noda. I like Noda.
I don't like Zinger. I really don't. I think Noda would be way better.
All right. You got anything else U.S. Open? Otherwise, I got one more question.
No, I don't think so. It's just I'm happy that it was a good tournament, good leaderboard. I love the U.S. Open.
Tradition always my favorite because I got married on a U.S. Open weekend that was being held at Congressional. Yep, and then we held off going to the hospital to have Ryan because we were watching Payne Stewart and Phil Mickelson battle at Pinehurst, which next year will be number 25 to celebrate his 25th birthday. All right, so here's the other question. Chris sent me this one. Could have been a mailbag. You maybe you saw this on TikTok. You can only pick one. You can 1, never 3-putt again. 2, play your dream course once with your dream foursome. 3, hit every fairway the rest of your life. Or 4, win the Masters, but you can never play golf again.
Probably 3-putt. I feel like No, I want to hit every... I don't know what it's like to hit every fairway, so...
I've been hitting a decent amount the last couple of years. If you can hit every fairway, but you can't hit the green, it doesn't freaking matter.
Yeah, true.
Right? True. So to me, it came down to, because I would never want to
I lose too many balls off the tee.
Winning the Masters would be sweet, but to never play again, no thank you. So for me, it would be never 3-putt again or play a dream course once with your dream foursome. I mean, you're talking about like playing with 3 other guys that, like, your dream guys to play with on some dream course. I think I go with that because I feel like I'm a good enough putter that I'm never going to not 3-putt again the rest of my life, but like I can deal with a 3-putt or so around. I'm going with number 2, play the dream course once.
All right, what's the dream course?
I don't know my dream course. We've talked about dream foursomes here before. I'd have to think about it. You tell me if I get to play with those guys and pick the course, I'll figure something out. Probably would be Augusta, playing with, I don't know, an eclectic group of guys.
Larry David.
Maybe. All right. Sprint?
No, we got to pick for the Travelers.
Oh, pick for the
Travelers this
I haven't
week.
even looked. I'm going to go Harris English.
Birdie Machine, Birdie's Paradise.
Yeah, it is. I love number 18.
There's some drivable holes, too.
Is Bubba Watson playing in it?
No.
He's
on Live.
I know he's on Live, but I'm going to go Harris English, and I'm going to go. I'm going to go Fleetwood.
All right, I like it. I'm going to go Xander to repeat because he plays well in these crop tournaments, and Tom Kim, a birdie machine.
Yeah, he is.
We'll see. Maybe we'll put some bones on there. A couple nuggies. But yeah, that's the nitty gritty. Sprint time. Will Rory get another major?
I think he will. I mean, I think obviously every time he doesn't, the pressure's up there. But he's in contention all the time. That's the first hard thing to do is to give yourself a chance, and he gives himself a chance all the time. I don't think it will ever be the Masters, so I think he'll not win the career Grand Slam.
No, I agree.
But I think probably I could see him even winning the Open this year.
Hoyle Lake, that's where he won the last time, 2014. I think he's going to get one or two more. I do.
I would agree.
I think he'll get an Open and a PGA because next year it's at Valhalla where he's won. Then the next year at Quill Hollow where he's won multiple times just on tour. So I think he will do that. And then our second one here, well, piggyback off what we said, does Zinger need to go from NBC?
I mean, I don't mind his commentary, but it's so obvious for like a big tournament. Like he's fine for the.
It's boring.
Yeah, he
Trevor Immelman's really good.
He doesn't say anything that's like, wow. As somebody who golfs a lot, but that I could learn. Like he doesn't teach me anything. I felt like Faldo would say what he thought, but he would also teach you things. I feel like Immelman teaches you things. I thought Johnny Miller would teach you things, and he would say stuff that you'd be like, damn, that was cold. I don't mind that. I don't need people like towing the line and woke cancel in my broadcast. Like, give me what you see and call it like it is. And it's okay if you make a mistake. Like, you made a mistake on the moving ball, but I think Zinger's okay for regular tournaments, so I'd be okay if he was kind of like their B guy, but I think they could do better. I think, it's too bad that Phil had to turn into such an asswipe because I think he would have been really good at it because he would have been insightful, he would have been fun, he would have been comedic. I don't know. It's too bad maybe Tiger at some point will realize he can't play, and I think he would be a guy that would call it like it is. He could be a little bit fun, and I think you would learn a lot from him too.
Hey, maybe Smiley Kaufman's next.
Yeah, I like Smiley too. He's a good on-course guy.
He does a good job. Mm-hmm. He does a really good job.
Yep.
All right, then we got, I don't know, I thought of this last week, best Pringle flavor. Probably because I saw a commercial for
Best Pringles flavor. Sour cream and onion.
That's what I said, too. Those are good. Or the cheddar cheese and sour cream.
Yeah, those are good, too.
Will a Detroit sports team make the playoffs in the next 2 years, so by 2025, the end of 2025?
Yes. But I think there's only 50% of the teams have a chance.
Yeah,
Red Wings and
the
the
Red
Lions.
Wings and the Lions. Yeah, I agree.
I do think one of them in the next 2 years will
I think
make
the
it.
Lions are going to make it this year, and then the Wings not this year, but the next year we'll get it.
I think the Wings are a few moves and a few years away from
I think
recreating a dynasty.
They have a bright future under the
Stevie
Y, the Iser plan. All right. That's 127 of these. We appreciate you guys listening. We thank you. If you have any mailbag questions, please let us know. Let us know if you have any sprint questions as well, any brackets, or Mount Rushmore, Canadian Mount Rushmore you want us to do. Mona, this one's for you. I'm going to text you after this or call you because we're going to do I have business cards ready. We'll pass them out. The old people can take them. Hopefully they know how to use website. QR codes.
Except for you're dropping F-bombs on the podcast.
Yeah, that was on accident. I'm sorry.
This is the last faux pas 23. My co-host will be 24 on Wednesday. So wish him a happy birthday. You're getting so old, right?
Getting old.
All right. We appreciate you guys. Appreciate our sponsor, Team Anders. We'll keep coming at you, but give us some stuff that you want to talk about. It's not all about just what we want to talk about. Meantime, even if you are on the right track, you will get run over if you just sit there. Thank you, Mr. Will Rogers, actor.